Yes, sir.
All right. And we're ready to proceed. I'm going to, even though this was initially begun as a child support matter and Ms. Hewitt was listed as the plaintiff, the matters that we now are dealing with are all brought by your client. So we're going to allow your client to have the first say in the matter. He'll proceed. He'll have the burden to show what needs to be done in the case. So, Ms. Hendrickson, do you wish to make an opening statement? All right. The case that's going to be heard will require testimony, and as a result, if you are going to be a witness for either side in this case, you must go outside of the courtroom and remain outside of the courtroom until you're called to testify. You are prohibited from discussing the testimony of any other witness with anyone or from watching the proceedings which are being live streamed on YouTube, and violation of that order would not only...
This isn't just another custody hearing. This is a case where allegations of neglect, conflicting parenting styles, and courtroom credibility collide head-on. A father fighting for stability, a mother facing serious accusations, and at the center of it all, a 4-year-old child whose future hangs in the balance. As testimony unfolds, we'll see claims challenged, evidence revealed, and a judge forced to make a life-altering decision. But here's the real question. When emotions run high and stories don't align, who does the court believe, and why?
It would constitute contempt of court, but it would bar you from testifying. All right. If you're a witness, you must go outside. You have witnesses that need to go out.
Judge, I would request the 12-year-old Miss Sophie also. I'm not sure if she's going to be called to testify.
Not testify.
That's fine.
So whoever's in this courtroom is not going to be prohibited. It's not going to be allowed to testify unless they're a party at this point. So.
Judge, just to clarify, the contempt actions that we filed previously, those have been dealt with. So the only thing that's before the court is basically the final hearing, the establishment of parenting plan. And so I'm hoping that it will not take very long today. And so just a brief procedural history, since this case has been going on since last year. As you've stated, Judge, back in March of 2024, my client has filed a petition for paternity in response to a child support action that was filed against him, where he was ordered to pay $800 per month. In May of 2024, he was confirmed as a biological father following a DNA testing. And then in July 8 of 2024, he filed a motion for a temporary parenting plan on the basis that Ms. Hewitt was not being cooperative with visitation time with him. And that was heard August 31st of 2024, where Your Honor ordered supervision at the mother's home. And I believe that this was largely based on the fact that the mother claimed that the child had medical issues, heart conditions, nonverbal autism, and things of that nature. And so you were not comfortable with father having unsupervised visitation at that point. And so father attempted to have visitation from August 31 all the way to November 19 when I was hired in this case. From August to November, father had difficulties with this supervised visitation, resulting in us filing for contempt actions and motion for Christmas visitation. That was heard November 19, and Your Honor did allow my client to have unsupervised visitation overnight. That was for the Christmas time, but kept the same visitation for my client. And that day also, the mother maintained all of her claims that the child had some rare condition. He was going to therapy throughout the week. He was getting speech, OT, ADA, physical therapy. And so based on that, again, my client stayed in that same visitation. And so then we fast forward to January 29. At that time, I had subpoenaed all of the medical records and the TEIS, the Tennessee Early Intervention records, and the school records. And we had a hearing January 2029, resulting from our motion to appoint my client as a temporary parent, primary residential parent. At that point, we were so concerned of what we found. And in that hearing, Judge, you did found that Mrs. Hewitt had delayed access to certain services with TEIS for about a year, physical therapy, speech therapy, developmental therapy. There was an ophthalmology consult that was not done for months. Ashton had a cardiology appointment that was not done, well baby checkup, and that's in the order, Judge. And so at that point, Your Honor did not find that Ms. Hewitt was credible in her testimony, and you appointed my client as the temporary primary residential parent, and then awarded Ms. Hewitt a weekend visitation, and the child support was suspended at that time. February 25 of 2025 of this year, Ms. Hewitt then hired an attorney. And we had to file a second criminal contempt because at that point, your order was for Ms. Hewitt to return the child after her visitation to Mr. Fenton. And by May 14 of 2025, you heard two motions, actually three motions, all of my contempt motions, and Ms. Hewitt's motion to reconsider the January 29, 2025 motion. You denied that motion to reconsider, and then you found Ms. Hewitt guilty of 2 counts of criminal contempt, specifically that was 2 days in February where she refused to return the child. And you had suspended the 20 days of incarceration at that point. And then you also, Judge, modified the pickup time from 4 p.m. and my client was supposed to pick up. So that way we prevent, further issues. And then also on that day, we were supposed to be heard on this motion for the permanent parenting plan. But because Your Honor was considering the fact that the lawyer was just hired that time, that you were giving him some time to get acclimated with the case, you continued that, and then here we are today. And so, Judge, our goal is to finalize this case and finalize the parenting plan. And also, Ms. Hewitt, obviously, his lawyer had withdrawn by July of 2025. It's been well over the 30-day period that you gave her, so she hasn't hired a lawyer, obviously. We had filed a proposed permanent parenting plan initially, but that has now changed, and so I am going to present an amended one just based on the recent events that happened in the interim from May when we were here to today. The proof will show that Ashton, he's 4 years old now, he's done tremendously in a good way. He's gone to school, he's updated with all of his medical needs. He has been adding to his vocabulary, which is great. He's gaining friends. He's very close with his teachers. He's just overall has become healthier. His eating habits are better. And so it's been great for this child since father has taken over the overall decision making. In contrast, Judge, mother continues to engage in hostile communication with my client. She's making derogatory comments. So mother's visit started February 7 of 2025, every other weekend. So she would have had 15 weekends from that time. Out of the 15 weekends that she was awarded, she only exercised 5. out of that 5, the last day she had only exercised 1 overnight because the following day the children had to be taken to the grandfather's home. The DCS was involved, police was involved, and we'll get to that. So we have the police officer as well, subpoenaed to testify. The very first weekend that mother exercised her visitation on February 7, that was when you found her guilty of contempt because she refused to return the child to the father. February 21 was the second instance of her visitation, the same situation. Refused to return, and my client had to drive 1.5 hours to Tennessee to pick up. And so that was another contempt finding. And then she visited May 30. She was late, but my client accommodated. It was supposed to be 4 p.m., but she came at 6:30. And then the next one was June 13, and then the last episode was August 8. And August 8 was the day when the DCS and the police were involved in the situation. The proof will show that August the 9th, Saturday, the Department of Children's Services were called. There was an anonymous call put in. Apparently, Sophie, the 12-year-old, who is the other daughter of Ms. Hewitt, had made some complaints of abuse. There was some Adderall situation there that will come out in the proof. The environment itself the house was unkept, and we will have photos to show of that. There was some environmental neglect allegations. And so it resulted in the children being taken to the grandpa's home. And then my client got a call from the Dixon Police Department asking him to pick up the child. And so my client had to drive again. He was on vacation at that time on a Saturday to pick up his child. So the visitation was cut short. All throughout, from February to today, mom has never checked on the child, never sends any message to dad what's going on with Ashton. Maybe she doesn't have a ride to pick up, but doesn't even initiate any video calls whatsoever. In contrast, my client has been cooperative, bending over backwards to accommodate Ms. Hewitt. And so, Judge, we do have a lot of concern. And the other thing is the diet that's being fed to Ashton. It's going to come out as well in the proof. And so I know that it is very drastic, but in our proposed permanent parenting plan, of course, we're asking that Mr. Fenton remains the PRP with exclusive decision-making. He's doing a great job. Our concern is Ashton. If he continues to stay in this environment, the environment is not healthy, and we'll show the photos. And the other things, the situation with Sophie, it appears that Sophie has been tasked to take care of Ashton every time Ashton is there, and mother just does not participate. My client is asking that mother's visitation just occur in the county where he lives right now instead of overnight, unless Ms. Hewitt can show otherwise that she's fit and capable. And we're asking Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday and Sunday 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And these are the same schedule that Mr. Fenton had when he had to come here. So I feel like it's only fair that she gets the same. And we're asking that mother is to pick up and drop off from Mr. Fenton's home. We ask that applies day to day. And then for the summer, my client is asking that he gets at least 2 consecutive weeks for the first and second months of the summer. If the child support is assessed against the mother, which I believe it will when I calculated it, I do not have credible evidence of Ms. Hewitt's income, just because I've not received any discovery responses that I propounded, whether she was pro se and whether she was represented. And so we would ask that the income be imputed per the child support regulation. However, Ms. Fenton does acknowledge that Ms. Hewitt will incur travel expenses, and he wants her to see the child. And so he is willing to waive whatever child support, if any, is assessed against Ms. Hewitt. He will provide the insurance. He will continue to do that. And then we're asking that he claims him for the tax purposes. So in summary, Judge, we're asking if we apply the best interest factors here, it's truly unfortunate that we had come to this point. We were hoping that things will get better, but instead it got worse. And so we're asking that when the court applies the best interest, it finds that majority of them favors my client and that he remains the PRP and that no overnight visitations be awarded to Ms. Hewitt at this point. That's what I have, Judge. Thank you.
Ms. Hewitt, you are representing yourself, your prior attorney having withdrawn. You have the right to make an opening statement, but I'm going to give you a chance to testify. Do you want to just reserve what you want to say when you testify?
I would like to get a few things straight.
All right, then come on up to the podium and you can tell me whatever you want. This opening statement is not evidence. The evidence will be presented in the form of testimony, but I'll give you a chance to respond to what Ms. Hendrickson has said.
Ashton was never out of school or I've got his schoolwork, his attendance, his IEPs, everything, his doctor's appointments. Now his cardiologist switched to different companies. So we were in the process of switching from Dr. Bruns's pediatrics cardiology to another one. But I've got all his school, I've got his school pictures. He was getting ABA, physical therapy, occupational therapy, everything, every day. In TEIS from birth, there was never a gap except when I switched from TEIS to the Dixon County Board of Education. And I mean, there wasn't like a month lapse or a week, or we just switched.
Now, you have your daughter here to testify. She's not going to testify because she's in the courtroom. But why do you have her here to sit in and listen to the testimony that's going to be?
I'm not, she wanted to come for.
Do you think it's in her best interest for her to listen to the things that you've heard Ms. Hendrickson, what she says that they're going to present? Do you think it's in your daughter's best interest for her to be sitting in here and listening to this?
The officer describes the home, clutter, chemicals within reach, spoiled conditions, unsafe environment, not messy, dangerous. And when law enforcement says a home isn't safe for a child, that hits different.
Now I know, no, I don't think it is.
Well, then let's have her step outside and sit in the,
Yes, sir.
there's a lobby area that's quite comfortable. She'll be
Her
able to sit
cousin's
out
out
there.
there.
All right.
I guess that's all I have to say right now. I don't know what else to do.
All right, let's have a seat. Mr. Fenton bears the burden of showing why he should be the primary residential parent on a permanent basis, so we'll go ahead and let him present his proof. Ms. Hendrickson, you call your first witness.
Fever, yes. Thank you.
Officer, if you'll step right up here, please. ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath. Pull the base of that microphone up towards you there. That base will slide if you can pull the base of it towards you.
I think that's good.
Thank you. Good morning, officer. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Officer Brandon LaPever, Dixon Police Department.
Okay, so you're employed with the Dixon Police Department, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is your position there?
Patrol officer.
Okay. And are you familiar with the parties sitting here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you come upon them on August the 9th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then will you tell the court what was the reason for your, so you had an interaction with which party?
Miss Hewitt.
Okay. And so tell the court why you had an interaction with Miss Hewitt.
On the 9th, we received from dispatch, a complaint and calling in, asking or reporting poor living situation for the children. She asked that we do a welfare check. I spoke to her a little bit, just explained to her what we could do. We could do a welfare check on the child, and she asked that we do that.
Okay. And who had made that call?
I believe it was if I recall correctly, it was the aunt of the Miss Sophie.
Okay. Okay. And then so, and what happened next? Did you proceed to check
So
on
we
the
proceeded
home?
to 313 Martin Luther, made contact with Miss Sophie, and I'm not familiar on the other child's name. The little boy that was there with her.
Okay.
We made contact with them outside, and asked if their mother was home. I believe she called her mother on the phone, and then I went inside, spoke with the mother, and Officer Martin stayed outside and spoke with Sophie.
Okay. So when you got there, did you testify that you encountered Sophie and the little boy? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Just
They
the
were
two of
outside.
them?
They were outside, and the little boy was playing in a pool with some bubbles, and mother was inside.
Okay. And then so did you talk to Sophie, or who did you talk to first?
I talked to mother first,
Okay.
Miss Hewitt.
Okay. And then so did you go into the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what did you observe as you were there in the house?
I've observed clutter, chemicals on the floor, trash on the floor, open baking soda in this bathroom, the middle bathroom, clothes all piled up in the child's room, food. Their kitchen was very dirty. There was canned food in there. I believe there was some snacks and stuff for them to eat.
You go ahead.
Okay. The freezer was stuffed full of just random things, very dirty as well. The fridge didn't have a light in on it. It was barely working, so a lot of their stuff was in the freezer due to the fridge not working. Miss Hewitt reported that she did tell her landlord that, she's having problems,
Okay.
but they had not responded yet.
Okay. You were handed those photos. Are they familiar to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you would just go over those, and do they fairly depict what the condition of the home was when you were there?
They do.
Okay.
The picture of the kitchen that was taken at this point, the mother had already started cleaning up.
Okay. Okay.
So it was even worse than what
those
this picture
pictures.
is, yes.
Okay. And you testify that you saw cleaning cleaning materials and chemicals that were
There was
open?
bleach, 409, Ajax, baking soda, everything within a child's reach to get to it.
Okay. And Judge, I would ask to put that in an exhibit, the collective photos.
Recommends Exhibit 1.
And so in your mind do you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
And as a father in that environment, do you believe that that's safe for a 4-year-old to be in?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. And then, so is there any other observations that you would like to tell the judge as far as the home environment is concerned?
I do believe that DCS does need to get involved inside that home with the other children. And I know we're here about the little boy. But the Miss Sophie reported to us that the mother, every time DCS would come and they would leave, she would abuse her, call her names, and smack her wrist. She ended up grabbing her wrist so hard she has a little cut on her wrist. So
How old was this child?
12. So the initial report was for Sophie, but then we realized that father had primary custody over the son, so we sent him with grandpa, and we convinced mother to let 12-year-old go with grandma as well.
Okay. Is there any issue about maybe drugs and things of that nature? Was that discussed?
So Miss Sophie, the daughter, the 12-year-old, advised that her and Miss Hewitt are prescribed Adderall. I believe Miss Hewitt has a slow releasing Adderall, and Miss Sophie has a fast releasing Adderall. Her mother started abusing her prescription of Adderall. She went back to the doctor and advised him of it, and due to that, the doctor stopped the medication for Adderall for the daughter, according to the daughter's statements.
Okay. And so have you been back into the home after that day that you visited it?
I have not, no,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. And as far as you know, do you know anything about the DCS situation, the case?
I have not followed up with it. I do plan on asking, I think their case manager is Misty.
Okay.
How is it going? But they haven't called me or asked me anything about it.
Okay. And so, but that situation resulted in the two children being moved over to the maternal grandfather. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
to his dad, I believe. We requested DCS to come out that day.
Okay.
They did not find it probable to come out, enough reason to come out.
Okay.
So they spoke with Miss Hewitt, and and we kind of, Misty, I believe, convinced her to let Miss Sophie go with the boy to their grandfather's.
Okay. So there was enough concern there that you all decided to have the children taken away
Due
from
to the
from
statements
that
of the
home.
child of what she was saying was happening, and her emotional state, and then the house condition, I believe that DCS should have came out that day. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the court about this situation?
Yeah, ma'am.
That's all the questions I have, Judge.
Ms. Hewitt, you have the right to ask this officer questions, but it must be in a question form. Do you want to ask a question?
No, sir.
All right. Officer, it's my understanding that you contacted DCS, but they decided it was not, for some reason, they did not come out?
Yes, sir.
They didn't give you a reason?
No, they said, can she go somewhere else, the 12-year-old?
I understand they're somewhat overwhelmed, but basically, that's why she went to live with her grandfather or stay with her grandfather?
Yes. So DCS was able to convince the mother to just let her go for the weekend and the son to the grandfather's. But then the mother stated that the grandfather's also abusive as well. So, it was in a bad situation, and I believe DCS should have came out, but they didn't find enough probable cause to come out fast enough, I guess.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Are we releasing him for?
Yes, Judge, thank
You
you.
may go about
Thank
your
you,
business.
officer.
Thank you, officer.
I would report to the court, Judge, as an officer of the court, that there is a DCS case that they're handling the Sophie mother situation. Judge, my
Is
next,
Sophie the child that was here in the
that
courtroom?
was here, yes, Judge, yes.
All right, call your next witness.
Miss Elizabeth Wires, she's also outside.
You'll come up, please, ma'am. Step right around here, and I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Good morning, Miss Elizabeth. Thank you for coming out today. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Elizabeth Nicole Wires.
Okay. If you can speak up a little bit louder.
Yes, sorry,
You can-
my name is Elizabeth Nicole Wires.
Miss Wiley, if you'll pull the base of that, grab a hold of the base of that thing, the very bottom. Now pull it towards you. There you go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. And so how are you related to the parties here today?
I'm not related to Amy, but I'm related to her daughter. So I am Sophie's cousin.
Okay. And so are you the sister of Sophie's father? Is that right?
Sophie's father is my uncle.
Sophie's father is your uncle. Okay. And so have you known Sophie and Miss Hewitt for a while now?
Yes,
How
before.
long have you known them?
So when Amy was pregnant with Sophie, that's when I first met her, and so I've known them Sophie's whole life.
Okay. And have you been around Ashton as well, the 4-year-old boy?
Yes, ma'am, off and on.
Off and on. Okay. And have you been to Miss Hewitt's home?
Yes.
Okay. How often would you go there?
Not very often, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. It just depends on how often I see Sophie that year. Most of the time, I don't usually step inside her home. I usually just go to pick Sophie up.
Okay. So you would pick Sophie up to have some time with her, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So did you maintain a relationship with Sophie?
Yes.
You and her have a good relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have phone calls as well?
Yes.
Okay. And so when was the last time that you went there to Miss Hewitt's home?
I don't know the exact date. I would say it was probably maybe 4 weeks ago, 3
Okay.
or 4 weeks ago.
Okay. Judge, if we could have Ms. Wires look at the photos that we entered into the exhibit. I'd like to for you to take a look at those photos and see if you could identify them, if they're familiar to you.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Do you know who took those photos?
I took the photos of the bathroom, and then I had Sophie take the photos of the rest of the house.
Okay. And were those photos taken just within the past month here?
Yes.
In August? Okay.
Yes.
And so those photos, do they depict what you would usually see in Ms. Hewitt's home when you go there?
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty much for how long now? A year, 2 years, 3 years?
I can recall it was probably a couple years back when I delivered a vanity to Miss Hewitt's house for Sophie for Christmas, and the state of her home was still pretty close to this.
Okay.
So it's always been.
Been that way?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And so you had, did you have some concerns about Sophie's welfare here recently in August?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the court about what you know about Sophie's situation at Miss Hewitt's home?
I do know that her mother is very verbally abusive towards her. When I was on maternity leave, I talked to Sophie a lot on the phone, and Ashton was still in Amy's house at that time. And I recall her constantly yelling at Sophie, asking her to take care of Ashton, change Ashton's diapers, prepare food for him, do laundry, clean chores, some regular chores, but mostly asking Sophie to wait on her and Ashton.
Okay. And is this something that would happen whenever you're on a phone call with Sophie?
Yes,
And you would hear Miss Hewitt's voice,
yes,
and
constantly.
you're sure that that's her
Yes.
talking to Sophie, commanding Sophie to take care of Ashton's needs. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you ever observe what type of foods that Sophie and Ashton would have at Miss Hewitt's home?
Yes.
And what are they?
So mostly takeout. I know they do DoorDash a lot, fast food. And then the last time that I was in her home, I observed mostly canned foods. They had like microwavable mac and cheese, pudding, nutritional shakes, those little applesauce packets, things of that nature, but no cooked food ever.
Okay. And so do you know anything about Sophie being on Adderall?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you know anything about anybody taking her Adderall?
Yes, ma'am.
And who would that be?
Sophie has told me on several occasions that Amy will take her prescription and actually take the prescription herself, and that she will sometimes give Sophie half of Amy's prescription instead.
And this is Sophie telling you all these things?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And so you said you've been around Ashton. Do you have any observations of Ashton responding to Miss Hewitt, how, their relationship is?
I mean, their relationship seems, I guess, normal for his, he is delayed mentally. He seems excited to see her most of the time, but he is also agitated quite a bit, but I think that's just because of whatever mental issues he has.
Okay. Based on what you are aware of as far as Sophie is concerned, what is your opinion about Sophie living with her mom at this point?
My opinion?
Do you feel like she's safe there?
No,
What about Ashton?
no.
Okay. Those are all my questions, Judge.
All right. Ms. Hewitt, you have the right to, again, ask questions. You're not required to ask questions, but if you want to ask a question, you may do so. Do you wish to ask any questions?
No,
All
sir.
right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may leave, or you may have a seat in the courtroom if you like.
Thank you, Ms. Wires. Appreciate it.
Ms. Hendrickson, you may call your next witness.
I'll call my client, Judge, Mr. Fenton.
Mr. Fenton, if you'll come up.
You state your name for the record, please.
Matthew Christopher Fenton.
Mr. Fenton, you heard Miss Hewitt tell the court in her opening that Ashton did not miss school, to that effect. Is that right?
Yes.
When he was still here in Oakmont Elementary?
Yes.
Okay. I handed you documents. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, the school records.
Okay. And in fact, that has a business affidavit swearing that it is business record on the first page. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
On elementary.
Okay. So if you go over to this second page, does it state that Ashton had 17 unexcused absences between September 18, 2024 to January 23, 2025?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, I'd like to admit that as exhibit number 2.
Mark it as Exhibit 2.
So it is not true that Ashton religiously attended school, correct?
Yes.
He had 17 unexcused absences, and that's just half of the year for last year, correct?
Yes, and we
Okay.
also had Thanksgiving and Christmas break in that period, so.
Right, okay. Now, who's your employer?
Colliers Engineering and Design,
Okay, and how much is your hourly rate?
$37.50,
Okay, so and you work how many hours per week?
40 to 50, depending on the workload.
What is your routine? Is the overtime a regular thing for you?
Now it comes and goes.
It comes and goes. So would you say
That directly contradicts the mother's claims. Then he explains what he's done: doctor visits, therapy, structure, routine. The child is improving in real time: speech, social skills, health.
that 40 hours would be a correct number for your weekly hours that you put in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that amounts to about 6,000 a month, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and as I've stated to the court, if there's a child support that will be awarded against or assessed against Ms. Hewitt, if the court allows our permanent parenting plan, are you agreeable to waive that child support?
Yes.
Are you able to provide for Ashton's needs?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you became the primary residential parent January of this year, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then since that time, so you transferred him from Oakmont Elementary School to where?
Allen County Primary Center, that's in Scottsville, Kentucky.
Okay. And immediately thereafter, he started school, is that right?
Yes, I think it was about 2 weeks. I had to get a birth certificate and social security card and all that stuff, you know. And then I had to get him some shots, medical attention first. But
Okay.
I think it was about 2 weeks after I got him, mid-February.
Okay. And so you talked about the medical attention. Tell the courts, what have you done so far as Ashton's medical issues?
Well, we went to the cardiologist, primary care, the dentist, eye doctors. His eye would drift. And I've taken him to the eye doctor twice, just in about a 3 or 4 month period from when I got him in February, and then 3 or 4 months later, and his eyes are already correcting themselves. They used to just completely turn in, and now they're pretty straight. I'm not sure what the difference is and how it changed, but they were talking about surgery at first. So, and the last time I took him back, they said no, that he's made a lot of progress with his eyes.
Okay. Let's go back to the cardiology. Ms. Hewitt has made a statement that she was in the process of changing cardiology. Then we find out that Ashton was supposed to have a November 2024 follow-up with Dr. Braun.
It wasn't with Dr. Bronze, but it was the same practice. It was Vanderbilt.
Right.
And I can't remember the other lady's name, the other doctor that he ended up seeing, but it was still the same practice when I took him in February.
Right. And so he was delayed because he didn't go until February. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Supposedly it was November.
Yes.
Tell the court about the cardiology situation. Where is he at with that?
Well, before when Miss Hewitt had taken him 2 years prior to me taking him, they said his condition was mild. And when I took him back, they said it had gotten a little bit worse, and it was mild to moderate. Instead of 2-year visits, they moved it up to every year.
Okay.
But it's a valve at the top of his heart did not form properly, and they said eventually he could have to have a heart surgery. But when the flap closes where it's not formed right, the blood leaks back down into his heart, and it's called the Epstein anomaly.
Okay. But currently, he does not have any restrictions as far as, physical activities and things of that nature. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
And he can play like a normal kid.
That's correct.
And all those things. Okay. And then you said that you had gotten him caught up with the ophthalmology. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is he getting physical therapy?
Yes, he's getting all that through the school, kind of like the same as Oakmont. He gets physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational, everything that they provide.
Okay. And he doesn't have any unexcused absence thus far, is that right?
No, ma'am, he didn't have any last year, and he doesn't have any current.
Okay, and he just started the fall semester, school year, is that right?
Yes, on August the 20th was his first day back.
Okay. And how is he responding to the new environment? Tell the court about the school situation.
Well, he's doing really, really well. The teacher called me yesterday, and she was ecstatic, and she was like, "Yeah," she said, "Matt, I had to call you." She said, "I was showing pictures to the class, and I was asking them, what it was." And she said it was a picture of a school, and she said all the kids were screaming and yelling, and they were like, "School, school, school." And she looked at Ashton, and she said, "Ashton, do you know what that is?" And he said, "School." And that's the first words that she's ever heard him say. And then I asked him last night as well about it when I was sitting talking to him, and he said, "School for me." Day before yesterday, he was eating some M&Ms, and when he grabbed the yellow, when he said yellow, I mean, so his vocabulary's getting better. It's not any sentences put together or anything, but he'll tell you thank you. We have taught him sign language, please and thank you, and if he wants more or stop, little stuff.
Okay.
But Miss Rachel, that show helps a lot with it as well.
Great. And so he is beginning to get better with his speech, is that right?
Yes.
Slowly but surely.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is he gaining friends in the community?
Oh yeah. He has all the little kids in his class. I think there's 18 other students, and they love Ashton to death. I took him on a field trip last year and got to see all of them interact. And
Okay. Did his social skills got better?
oh, very much so. His ability to walk and climb, and his feet used to turn in real bad. They still do a little bit, but they're straightening out. But he runs and jumps and plays, and I don't know. He's just like every other normal kid, besides not speaking. But he's very polite, and he's on a routine schedule. He usually wakes up around 6 to 6:30 on his own every morning, and he goes to bed at 8 every night. His schedule for his meals are the same time every day. Snack time's the same time every day. He eats very well now. When he first came to live at the home, he would only eat the macaroni microwave cups, and then that was basically it. He wouldn't eat anything you put in front of him. He didn't even know what cereal was. And now Ashton eats everything, especially if you're eating it. He wants some of it too. But
Okay. And so you have established a routine for him, is that right?
yes, ma'am.
And he's pretty much used to that routine,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. That's correct.
Okay. All right. And so you talked about medical, you talked about the home life. Is he getting along with, who are you living with? I'm sorry, first. Who are you living with right now?
My fiance and her daughter be Asia Wilking and Elena Reimers. Elena's 16.
Okay. And how is he getting along with Asia?
Oh, he takes right to Asia. She's a very sweet and nice person, and she's fell in love with Ashton, and the same with him.
And does Asia help you with the day-to-day care for Ashton?
Yes, ma'am, very much so.
Okay. Would you look at those photos that I handed you? Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, ma'am.
You took them, right?
Yes, ma'am. Me or Asia, one of the two, or Elena.
And those photos show Ashton, his home life with you and the family, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. Judge, I would like to enter those as an exhibit
Mark
number,
Exhibit 3.
number 3. So is it fair to say that Ashton is well adjusted now in your home?
Yes.
Okay. Well adjusted with the school?
Yes.
Okay. And what about can't remember if I asked you, what about his relationship with you, with Aisha's daughter, Elena?
He's, I don't know, he really took to Elena. That's like his best friend. He follows her around
Yeah.
everywhere.
How old is Elena?
16.
16 years old. And in fact, you've been with Miss Aisha for how many years now?
4 years.
4 years. So Elena's basically looks at you like her own father. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so, what are your concerns moving forward now that we're asking the court to make this permanent? Would you be comfortable with Ashton's spending the night at Miss Hewitt's home?
I mean, no, not after the police report.
Then comes the transportation issue. She claims she can't even consistently travel to see her child. That's a major problem in custody cases. Because if you can't show up, you can't parent effectively.
I read and, the things that the officers told me, and the cleanly, it's not clean at all. And it was like that when I was going down for supervised visitation. There was chemicals everywhere, borax spread across the floor, and Ashton was playing in it. I mean,
Did you raise concerns to Miss Hewitt about that at the time?
yes, I sent messages
Yeah.
telling her the safety concerns and the health concerns of having those chemicals around, and she didn't seem to care too much because it stayed that way.
Yeah. Now, you heard me tell the court the days that Miss Hewitt had the visitation. So I'm gonna go over that with you. So she visited February the 7th, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then she visited February the 21st.
That's correct.
And those were the 2 days where she had refused to take Ashton back to you as ordered by the court. Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And she was found in criminal contempt at that point.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Following that, she did not visit for the month of March, correct?
No, ma'am. It was probably a 3 to 3.5 month gap before the next
Okay, we'll
visitation.
go over each month.
Sorry.
What about April? Did she visit in April?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What about in May? Did she visit in May? May 30?
Yeah, I think it was the very end of May because our court date was May 14th, and she did end up coming to a visitation
Okay.
shortly after that court date.
Okay. So she arrived at 6:30 instead of 4 o'clock that day. Is that right?
Yes, she said that she didn't know that the time had changed from
Okay.
6 o'clock pickup to 4, and I told her that that would be fine. It's 2.5 hour drive and fighting traffic, and I was understanding and letting go.
Sure. So, and then the next visitation was in June June 13, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's 4 visitations beginning February, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then what about in July? Was there any visitation there?
No, ma'am, because the last one was last month.
The last one was August the 8th, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's
So-
correct.
Per my count, she visited 5 out of the 15 weekends that she could have had. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been accommodating to Miss Hewitt's circumstances?
Yes, ma'am.
And, each time she would ask for, maybe I'll be late and things of that nature. Do you stay and wait for her?
Yes.
Okay. And has she continued to send you not so nice messages even then?
Not so. I mean, not as bad as what it was, but she's
Okay.
very demanding and gets upset if she doesn't get her way, even though she's not following the court order. And I'm still trying to be very understanding for Ashton's sake and wanting to see his mother for sure.
Right. And was there a day in May where she had told you that she's coming and that was not her day?
Yes.
Okay.
She demanded that she was coming, that she hadn't got to see him, and it didn't matter if it was her weekend or not, that she should get to see him. And we have plans, of course.
And that's against the court's order, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so we have prepared an amended parenting plan, and I will show this to you.
Thank you.
Okay, and so we're asking that you continue to be the primary residential, right?
Yes.
And we have, because we're asking that for now, no overnight visits because of the concerns, we put 0 on moms, and then yours was 365, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then for mom's day-to-day schedule, she would have Friday beginning at 5 to 8 p.m.
Yes.
And then Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Correct.
And are you asking the court that her residential time just take place within, is it Allen County there in
Yes, ma'am.
Allen County in Kentucky?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so this would apply to the day-to-day schedule, is that right?
Yes.
And then for the summertime, you would ask for 2 consecutive weeks, the first and second months of the summer.
Yes.
Okay. And then for transportation, you would ask that the mother pick up and return to you after her visitation
Correct.
to your residence. Okay. And you're asking the court to maintain the exclusive major decision-making on all the issues, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We have you down as your income as 6,000 there, okay? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And did we receive any documentation from Ms. Hewitt about her income
No, ma'am.
from her lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so we're asking the court to adopt the regulation imputation, which is 2,995, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when we plug that in the child support worksheet sheet, it would obligate Ms. Hewitt to pay you $448 per month. Is that right?
Yes.
And if the court approves this, are you waiving that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I think I asked you that in the beginning. Apologize. Okay. And the reason for the deviation would be because of the travel that's imposed to Ms. Hewitt, is that right?
Yes.
And you want to facilitate her visitation with Ashton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're able to provide for Ashton's needs anyways with your own income, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're going to continue to provide the insurance for Ashton, correct?
That's correct.
And you're asking to be able to claim him for tax purposes?
Yes.
Okay. And you, I believe that's the major components of that. I would ask that to be entered as an exhibit, Judge. And that has a child support worksheet as well, if that's
Mark it as
adopted.
Exhibit 4.
By the end of this case, the court isn't just choosing between 2 parents. It's evaluating patterns, consistency, and proven responsibility. The father presented structured care, medical follow-through, and measurable improvement in the child's development. On the other side, the court heard repeated concerns. Missed visitations, unsafe living conditions, and troubling testimony from multiple sources. When the judge weighs the best interest of the child factors, every detail matters. And here, those factors clearly leaned in one direction. The final ruling reflects that primary custody awarded to the father, limited visitation for the mother, and strict conditions moving forward. This case sends a powerful message. Parenting in the eyes of the law isn't about what you say, it's about what you consistently do. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think the court made the right call? What would you have decided in this situation? Backhand index pointing right if you found this case as intense and eye-opening as we did. Make sure to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.